Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey, get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. President Joe Biden is pushing back on a flood of misinformation, he says, about FEMA's response to Hurricane Helene and what will be needed for Milton. Biden says some of the claims of FEMA's lack of response is simply not true. We have an update for you there. The Harris campaign is distancing itself from the 60 Minutes edit. We do not control CBS production decisions, is the response, as Donald Trump and other members of the media are asking for a full unedited version of the interview to be released. And a Florida man is refusing to evacuate Hurricane Milton, says he's going to swim out to safety after the surge hits if needed. Should this be allowed? And are first responders expected to respond if he gets in trouble? We have a full update for you on Hurricane Milton and the continued efforts in the Carolinas to literally dig our way out of the devastation caused by Hurricane Helene.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
As expected, Hurricane Milton made landfall last night as a Category 3, which is the good news, I guess, considering it had been a Category 5 at some points as it crossed the Gulf. Sustained winds of 120 miles per hour were experienced last night near Siesta Key, Florida, slamming into the state's west coast before making its way eastward. The catastrophic landfall came barely 2 weeks, as you know, after Hurricane Helene hit both Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Florida residents have spent the interim since Helene boarding up windows, evacuating their homes, and now preparing for Milton. The National Hurricane Center said Milton has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for west central Florida. The storm passed over central Florida overnight and is expected to make its way to the Atlantic throughout this morning and later today. As of last night, there were over 1 million customers without electricity, and that was early on in the stages of Milton. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has activated thousands of National Guard members who are standing by to conduct search and rescue following the storm as people can get out later today. President Biden's administration has also pre-deployed new resources and hundreds of personnel, according to Joe Biden. And Governor Ron DeSantis has confirmed that he has been in touch with Joe Biden, that he has talked with President Biden, and that they're on the same page, that they're working together, not the same with Vice President Kamala Harris, whom Governor Ron DeSantis is saying has politicized the whole storm. Biden delivered remarks yesterday afternoon, though, before Hurricane Milton hit Florida, saying that the misinformation has got to stop, suggesting that President Trump and other conservatives are spreading misinformation that is hurting people.
But now I want to be clear about something. For the last few weeks, there's been a reckless, irresponsible, and relentless promotion of disinformation and outright lies that are disturbing people. It's undermining confidence in the incredible rescue and recovery work that has already been taken and will continue to be taken. And it's harmful to those who need help the most. There is simply no place for this to happen. Former President Trump has led the onslaught of lies. Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated. That's simply not true. They're saying people impacted by these storms will receive $750 in cash and no more. That's simply not true. They're saying the money is needed for this crisis is being diverted to migrants. What a ridiculous thing to say. It's not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's got to stop. Moments like this, there are no red or blue states. There's one United States of America, where neighbors are helping neighbors. Volunteers and first responders are risking everything, including their own lives, to help their fellow Americans. State, local, and federal officials are standing side by side.
Mr. President, I have a suggestion for you. Maybe you need to be talking to your vice president about some of the misinformation as well. She's the one who's running around the country politicizing what is happening there, if you haven't noticed, that is. Well, I'll tell you one who's noticed, and that's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis appearing with Sean Hannity. He had a few words, a message for Kamala Harris.
And we've been laser focused on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. Has she ever called before? She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got people whose lives are on the line. I've got people whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games. And so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
And he's right. Kamala Harris has done nothing but try to politicize this whole thing. She knows she's losing. She knows she's behind. So she wants to look like she's the leader, like she's in charge, like she's capable of accomplishing something. She's trying to make the American people think, hey, look at me. I can do this. I can be your commanding officer. Have you noticed how Harris has been involved in a lot of the, quote, official briefings on the hurricane? And I wonder how Joe Biden really feels about this. I wonder if he's pushing her out there, hoping to try to help her, hoping to elevate her status as a leader in the Biden-Harris administration. Or is she just injecting herself? Whatever's happening is being done very poorly. Harris, during a Hurricane Milton update yesterday, this was with the Federal Emergency Management, FEMA. At one point, she, along with, 5 or 6 other officials, including the director of FEMA, they were on a Zoom call. So you had like 6 people on this screen. And you could see her with her hand covering her mouth. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? It's like she's covering her mouth so that she can talk to her staff or something, almost as if she's saying, hey, I'm on a Zoom call here. Leave me alone for a few minutes. So while Biden was attending a meeting at the White House, Harris and others were attending it virtually. At one point during the briefing, as you know, she tries to step in as if she's asking some very serious questions. And this was right after she went through this thing of covering her mouth. The whole thing was just inappropriate. I mean, she probably should not have even been on the call to begin with. But again, it was just so that she could try to show the American people, well, I'm a leader. I'm doing something here. Wow. By the way, interesting note from Florida, as Milton got closer to making landfall, the Florida Department of Corrections was in the process of evacuating 4,600 prisoners from about 28 facilities. Despite their effort to get the state's inmates to safety, some counties opted not to evacuate, like Manatee, Lee, Pinellas, and St. John's. They opted to not follow evacuation orders, fearing that some inmates could escape during the shuffle. Now, Florida is home to about 20,000 prisoners, according to the Department of Corrections. Some families of those in prison are concerned. Resident Julie Rimmer, whose son is incarcerated in a facility that has refused to evacuate, is concerned for her son's safety, saying they seem to think this storm is not serious. When my son was sentenced, he was not given a death sentence, and that could be an issue. Hey, let me take a minute to talk with you about McCravey, Newland, Sturkey, and Clardy Law Firm. I've known these guys for years, so take my advice. If you or someone you love is injured in a car accident, workplace injury, maybe slip and fall, medical malpractice, or even wrongful death, you need the unmatched representation of McCravey, Newland, Sturkey, and Clardy Law Firm. When you need help, you need an attorney who knows South Carolina law. You need an attorney who can get results, and that's exactly what you'll get. Call today, schedule a free and confidential case evaluation. You can go online at mccravylaw.com, schedule it there, or call 833-245-6565. That's 833-245-6565. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Email's always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD Weight Loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD Weight Loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part? PhD Weight Loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD Weight Loss Program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Obviously, it's too early to tell what the situation is going to be after Hurricane Milton, as we're still experiencing remnants of Milton across Florida. We know it's bad. I mean, just with the winds and the storm surge that we could see overnight. But as daylight approaches and first responders are able to get out there and get a real evaluation of what's taking place, we'll know more as the day goes on. We do know what Hurricane Helene did to the Carolinas, and we're trying to step up and help people who are affected by that, and you can help as well. You can help give hope to Hurricane Helene survivors. Join News Talk 98.9 WORD, my radio home, and the Salvation Army to help provide emergency aid, food, water, and long-term recovery here in the Carolinas. Please give at rebuildcarolinas.org. That's rebuildcarolinas.org. And I promise you, every single dime that is sent to the Salvation Army will be used to help these people in western North Carolina and the Carolinas overall, who are hurting because of Hurricane Helene. You know, as the storm approached 2 weeks ago, and then again over the past few days as we have waited on Hurricane Milton, it's kind of taken the focus off of politics to a degree, hasn't it? And we're going to get back to that. We have some updates on the particularly the 60 Minutes interview and the question that was edited and it was changed. But it's had us discussing some other things. And one of the topics that's come up multiple times has been sort of your right to make a decision. Now, we talk about this a lot because the Democrats love to talk about a woman's choice, a woman's option to terminate a pregnancy, to take a life. But it's a bit different when it's someone who is facing the devastation or potential devastation of a hurricane but they don't want to evacuate. They want to ride it out in their home. Some of the Democrat leaders in some of the Florida counties that are expected to be hit hard were complaining because people were defying their orders. Which leads to the question, is that okay? Is it okay for someone to ignore evacuation orders and risk their lives during a hurricane? Lifelong Floridian Matthew Heller made headlines yesterday as he decided to stay in his Tampa home as local officials warn residents to evacuate, particularly in the evacuation zones. Now, Florida has a evacuation zone system. They have them labeled. And you know, when you buy a home, you know which zone you're in. So in the instance where evacuations are needed or called for, they'll say, we're going to evacuate zones 1 through 5 or whatever. And those areas are expected to evacuate. Heller is a business owner, and he talked with Fox News Digital, saying that he's not sure which direction the storm was headed. Most of his neighbors had already evacuated, he said. This after the Tampa mayor, Jane Castor, issued a dire warning to those who do not leave evacuation. She said, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you are going to die. That's what she said to CNN earlier in the week. Heller didn't seem to be too concerned, though. He said that he had a life jacket. He had safely put his cars to higher ground. And if he needed to, he would just swim to safety.
My house has multiple levels. If the water comes in over 10, 11, 12 feet, that'll get up to the second floor. If at any time I feel threatened, I do have a life jacket I'll be wearing, and I'm hoping to just kind of swim out. I've moved all my vehicles the past couple of days to high and dry locations. So hopefully I can just kind of swim over to one of those and hang tight while the water recedes.
Well, and I guess that's okay if your house isn't swept away or destroyed by the wind or a tornado that is sometimes caused by hurricane conditions. This guy said that he saw total pandemonium with residents searching for gas and trying to get out of town. Heller explained how he battled Hurricane Helene just over 2 weeks ago, which hit his area there. Said it left his entire home flooded, reaching a high of 5.5 feet of water. He had a video that went viral on TikTok where he showed his riding around his flooded home during Hurricane Helene in a kayak and filming shots showing the water-damaged dwelling. He talked about how he's still recovering from Helene and had removed drywall and other pieces of his house, putting them out on the street.
My entire lower level was flooded. I had 5.5 feet within an hour and a half, and everything got flooded. I've been recovering all week, removing drywall, and just the entire downstairs of my house was decimated. That's all sitting at the curb now. The city of Tampa told us to leave it unbagged, so I have all this loose construction debris. My big concern is that debris clogging any kind of drainage systems and causing more problems, or becoming missiles and or projectiles and damaging other property and things.
Okay, I've got to ask you. You think this guy is nuts, really? Would you want to do this? But I guess the bigger question is, let's get back to the discussion. Is it okay for people to do this? Is that his right to ignore evacuation orders? And if he needs help, do first responders help him? Are they dispatched to try to help him after he has defied the mandatory evacuation orders? Should first responders risk their lives to try to help him if he gets in trouble? Because I know he talked about, well, I have a life jacket, I'll just swim out. But boy, some of the videos that I've seen, that's not always an option. I mean, and we saw some of the way the water was raging in the Carolinas. It swept complete houses away. It would seem to me like you don't just put on a life jacket and like you're going down whitewater rafting or something. You have debris in the water. You have obstacles that maybe it pushes you against. What do you think? I'd love to get your text, your comments on this. You can email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Should he be allowed to do this? Should anybody be allowed to do this? Is this one of those instances where we can even though as crazy of a choice it is, as dangerous of a choice it is, should we have that freedom to make that choice? Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. I told you yesterday about the Trump campaign calling out Kamala Harris and CBS for the obvious editing of one of her word salads in the 60 Minutes interview. It's creating a lot of talk. This is not going to go away, or at least I hope it doesn't, although the Harris campaign and CBS are trying their best to ignore it, hoping that it goes away, hoping that people will forget about it. In fact, Harris's presidential campaign is distancing itself from CBS and the fact that they aired two different answers to the same question. And I guess they thought they weren't going to get caught. Here's the story in case you missed it. CBS is facing calls to release an unedited copy of the Harris interview after the network aired a lengthy response, a word salad response, that the vice president gave to a 60 Minutes correspondent about Israel to promote its lengthy sit-down. Harris's meandering answer, again, it was one of her word salads that you did not know what she was actually saying. It aired first on the Sunday show Face the Nation, again, to promote the entire episode of 60 Minutes the following night. A shorter, more focused answer to the same question was shown during 60 Minutes. I mean, it appeared that the 60-minute editors realized just how stupid she looked, how goofy the answer was, and thought, well, we're going to cover her on this one. We're going to try to make her look a little better than she was. The Harris campaign insisted it had nothing to do with the edit. Now, in CBS's defense, networks do sometimes edit answers. They'll do it for the sake of time. We talked about this yesterday. The fact that two entirely different responses to the same question aired on consecutive days, though, that's unheard of. That's confusing. Although it could have been two portions of one long response to Whitaker's question. In this case, they took two different answers to the same question. And I've gone back and watched the this entire section of the interview. And there's about a 2-minute section of this where Bill Whitaker asked her the question about whether or not Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, is actually listening to the Biden-Harris administration. And it's very clear once you listen to it again that they just lifted two different sections, not the original answer, but they went back and pulled a more focused and more concise answer that was actually the answer to a different question. A Harris campaign aide told Fox News, quote, "We do not control CBS's production decisions and refer questions to CBS." That's a convenient answer. CBS News, of course, would not respond to a request from Fox News, according to Fox. The ordeal started when viewers noticed that CBS had aired these two different responses. In case you missed it, here it is one more time.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
I tell you, that could be our president. We should make every person who is walking into a polling booth in the next month listen to that before they vote. But when CBS aired the Fuller interview on Monday night, that's what we heard during the promo on Face the Nation. And that's how people knew that there was a different answer. Because when they aired the segment on Monday night, somebody had realized, boy, she looks stupid in that situation. We got to help her out here. And they aired the same question about Netanyahu that Bill Whitaker asked, but they omitted Harris's original answer and inserted this as the answer.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Wow. See, that's bad on CBS's part, because it's clear that they edited that. Very clear. Moving on, former President Donald Trump, you know, he has the ability to just fill up the arenas and the stadiums. Well, he's going for the big one. He announced that he's going to have a rally in New York City, of all places, just a few days ahead of the November 5th election. Guess where he's going to have it? The granddaddy of them all, the Madison Square Garden, October the 27th. A campaign spokesperson said that they're seeing very high interest in attending these events. The rally will be first come, first served, like all of his rallies. So he's taking it to downtown New York. Wow. With just 27 days to go until Election Day, President Trump is in a great position to win the needed 270 electoral votes to become our 47th president. That being said, we know that the race is shaping up to be a nail biter. It's going to be all night on November the 5th, and we may not know who the winner is even on November the 6th. Writing for the Daily Caller, David Bossie, who has held various positions with the Trump campaign over the years, lays out an interesting scenario of Trump winning on November the 5th, a scenario that is terrifying Kamala Harris. Bossie writes, in July, after it became clear that Trump was going to wipe the floor with President Joe Biden, former President Barack Obama and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi orchestrated a desperate un-American coup that installed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democrat nominee without receiving a single vote. And since that time, polls have tightened, he says. The switch to Harris, the new candidate in the race, seemed to benefit Democrats in the polls by providing an artificial yet short-lived bounce and some much-needed excitement. Harris was given room by the biased mainstream media to try to navigate around Biden's crisis on the economy, the border, and the world stage. But now a steady dose of reality is setting in because the American people are realizing that Biden's disasters are also Harris's disasters. After all, it was Vice President Harris who cast the tie-breaking vote to pass Biden's economic program that caused the ongoing inflation mess. Bossy writes, she turned a blind eye to the invasion at our southern border and was the last person in the room, quote, before Biden made one foreign policy catastrophe after another on things like the botched Afghanistan withdrawal and choosing the contemptible policy of moral equivalence in the wake of the Hamas terrorist attacks in Israel. He says, make no mistake, the Biden record is the Harris record. And the radical Harris policy platform is no different than the Biden platform that is failing in real time. Now, and she kind of confirmed this with her view with her guest appearance on The View this week, when asked the question what she would do different, and she couldn't come up with a single thing that she would do differently. So Harris herself confirmed what David Bossy is writing in this column, that the Biden record is the Harris record. She can't run from it. He says Harris's refusal to do unscripted media interviews, press conferences, or subject herself to legitimate interactions with voters is turning into a nightmare scenario for Democrats. And you need to, I want to emphasize here when he says her refusal to do unscripted media interviews and press conferences. These interviews that we've seen this week with whatever the podcast was, Call Her Daddy or whatever, and with The View, the edited 60 Minutes interview, and Howard Stern. I mean, all of those were friendly interviews. She knew what she was getting into. The truth is that a vote for Harris is a vote for more of the same. According to polling, hardworking American families are coming to grips with this fact. And boy, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Chucky Schumer, the whole Democrat elite, they're panicking because they see Donald Trump back in the Oval Office. They can visualize it now. They can picture Donald Trump in the White House, in command again, and they don't like it. Bossy writes, in North Carolina, a state that Trump carried in both 2016 and 2020, voters are currently witnessing breathtaking incompetence from the Biden-Harris administration as they grapple with the brutal aftermath of Hurricane Helene. At the same time, the GOP is on offense in the state by slashing the Democrat voter registration advantage by 260,000 compared to 4 years ago. And I think the whole idea of these storms, the devastation that and the hurt that people are having to experience is horrible. But it's also bad for these campaigns too, because people are seeing what the Biden-Harris administration is capable of, or better said, what the Biden-Harris administration is incapable of. It's shining a spotlight on their incompetence. And it's not a good look. And Kamala Harris is scrambling. She is panicking because she can see that the American people are recognizing the fraud that she really is. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse are proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. Just another reminder that you can help and give hope to Hurricane Helene survivors. Let me encourage you to join News Talk 98.9 WORD and the Salvation Army to help provide emergency aid, food, water, and long-term recovery here in the Carolinas. Please give at rebuildcarolinas.org, rebuildcarolinas.org. On the text line, Faye writes, Joey, before I start my Kamala rant, how is Nana Hudson after the bad storm? Well, thank you, Faye, for asking about Nana Hudson. Nana Hudson is fine. In fact, Nana Hudson never lost electricity. We all were without electricity for days. Nana Hudson never lost it. She lives in Greer. Her electrical service is provided by the Commission of Public Works in Greer. And boy, did they do a yeoman's job. Now, she did lose her Wi-Fi, and she was not a happy camper losing her Wi-Fi because she wasn't able to do Facebook. She wasn't able to keep up with what was going on Facebook. And for those of you who've listened to me for any period of time, you've heard me tell the story of me giving Nana Hudson an iPad for Christmas several years ago. She didn't take it out of the box for weeks. Kept telling me, take it back, get your money back. I'll never use that thing. Well, now I go to visit her, and I have to literally take the iPad away from her and set it on the other side of the room in order to sit down and talk with her, because she wants to sit there and scroll through and show me, well, did you see this? What about this? She'll call me and tell me what about somebody who maybe is getting married or something that she's seen on Facebook. So Nana Hudson was not a happy camper with Spectrum because she went without her internet service for days. Thank you for asking, Faye. Faye went on to write, I'm sure Kamala would not change anything Biden did as she helped craft his evil policies. But what she didn't say is what her new additions would be. Sky-high taxes, unrealized capital gains tax, abolish the First and Second Amendments, most likely within 30 minutes of being sworn in, allowing the murder of babies after delivery, and as she said, prostitution should have a lesser charge. This so-called Christian evangelical group that endorsed her needs to have Billy Graham come back and preach them a good sermon. This type of president is not what our founding fathers had in mind. Americans, are you this brainwashed? I hope not. I hope not. Dom in Illinois writes, hey, Joey, would you do that? I can't believe that right from 5:30 a.m. you ruined my day. Every single time I hear Harris spout her garbage word salads, I get angry, and you had to play 12 minutes of her to kick off your show. I ask again, why would you ruin my day like that? Laugh out loud, he says. That cut with the ex-shock jock Howard Stern made me nauseated. Love your show, Joey. Hated those cuts. Be well, Dom. Well, Dom, if you're listening again today, I just ruined your morning again a minute ago when I replayed that Kamala Harris. Appreciate you listening, Dom. Texter, Mr. Thomas in Morganton, North Carolina, says, thank you, Sheriff Wright, for saying what all of North Carolina is thinking. He's referencing a clip that I played from Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright, who was up in Rutherford, North Carolina, helping assist the people in that area, basically saying, we don't need your help, Kamala. Stay out of the way. Texter, Paul here. Thank you for everything you're doing to keep North Carolina in our prayers. Absolutely. We've got, this is a long-term thing. And I'm sorry if those of you who maybe don't live in the Carolinas area, if you get tired of hearing this, but we have to help our people in North Carolina. When it's safe, I want to travel up and visit and do some interviews in North Carolina. It's too early to do that right now, because I would just be a distraction. I don't want to get in the way. And again, regardless of where you live, if you're listening to my voice right now and you want to help provide emergency aid, food, water, long-term recovery in the Carolinas, you can do so at rebuildcarolinas.org, rebuildcarolinas.org. Every penny you give will go to the Salvation Army to help the recovery effort in the Carolinas. Susan from Hartwell writes, maybe the beer she drank with Stephen Colbert was responsible for Calamity Harris making even less sense than usual. Who does that? I mean, again, it's an effort to make her just look normal. Hey, I'm drinking a beer. Ha, 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 ha. How stupid for a presidential candidate to think that the American people don't see right through that. Texter, Ray has a theory here. Says, hello, Joey. It seems that Uncle Joe is throwing Carmela under the proverbial bus. I'll bet this is the work of Dr. Jill. Never forget, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. The good doctor likes living in the White House and being one of the powers behind the throne. Kamala took that away from her, and now it's payback time. Ain't politics fun? Ray, you really think that Jill Biden may be orchestrating some of these behind-the-scenes things that are making Kamala not look so smart? I would love to know, and someday we'll probably be able to read about it in a book that Jill Biden writes. But I'd love to know how that all unfolded. At what point Joe Biden admitted, and was Jill supportive? Was Dr. Jill Biden supportive of his decision to get out of the race? Or did he do it against her better judgment? Because she seemed to be the one who was really pushing him. And shame on her for doing that, because of all people who knew his true condition, I would think she does. By the way, another quick story. Former President Donald Trump reported yesterday on some Truth Social post that he's opening up one of his luxury resorts in Florida to host around 275 utility linemen who will be working to restore power after Hurricane Milton runs its course, hopefully sometime later today. Trump is hosting the linemen at the Trump National Doral Miami Resort in South Florida, which is out of the path of the area that Hurricane Milton was forecast to hit. Caroline Leavitt, National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign, told the Daily Caller News Foundation, this is another example of the Trump family's amazing generosity. They truly care for the hardworking people of this country. The linemen staying at Trump's resort will join tens of thousands of other electrical workers who are venturing to the state from all over the country to assist the recovery from Hurricane Milton. And again, we don't know what that is yet, but we will start getting a pretty good idea literally a little later this morning as daylight comes and as it's safe for people to get out and actually see what's happening. It's going to be tough, folks. And it just makes me angry to hear some of the rhetoric coming from Joe Biden and the Biden-Harris administration, and to hear them talking about how we're going to pay for this. Because I don't know if you saw this, but the projected damages potentially in Florida could be $180 billion. Now, I know the Biden administration claims that they're backing up on the notion of what Secretary Mayorkas said earlier, that FEMA was out of money. They're saying, oh, no, we got plenty of money. But it just makes me angry to think about that we're going to put ourselves further in debt to do what's right, to rebuild, to help these states, to help Florida, to help Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, to help these people rebuild. But yet we're digging our financial hole deeper because of the billions that we have wasted, that we have squandered sending to foreign countries. Now we need it ourselves. Who's going to come to our aid? I think you know the answer to that question. Be safe out there, folks, and we'll have a full report for you tomorrow. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.